How goes it?
Well, I was going better before I had to watch this movie.
It's basically a 90-minute ad for sketchy CGI, um, product placement, and one of the biggest letdowns in comic book cinema.
The fact that it was a sequel and they could have improved upon what they did the first time and they did worse is, unfortunate.
It speaks to something, just not to me.
Yes, it speaks to something. I don't know that it speaks to anyone, though.
This movie is
Something.
something. Welcome, boys and girls, to yet another fantastic episode of the Sanctum Sanctorum podcast where comics and Christ culture collide. I am one of your hosts, Joey.
And I am the other one, Chris.
The other one. On this show, we cover comic book movies and the Christ within them.
Don't. No. No, thank you. No, thank you. Don't like
No.
that. Don't like how
No.
you said it. Nope. Nope. Hard pass.
How would you say it?
Uh,
Not like that.
yeah, just better.
The Jesus in our Justice League. The Christ in our Captain America.
No. That's enough. That's enough.
The beloved in our boys. Actually, there's nothing good in the boys. I can't recommend it at all. It is just filth, but it's entertaining. On this show, we cover some movies that did not age well. This one being one of them. Today we're covering Fantastic Four: The Rise of the Silver Surfer. I remember this one very differently.
I do too. So this came out in 2007 and is the sequel to 2005's Fantastic Four. And they wanted to expand the world a little bit, continue on with this version of the Fantastic Four story, and I guess they thought this was going to be so much better and wanted it to be so much better. I mean, we all did, but it just was, not at
Just
all.
not. But we got a comic culture moment that I haven't prepped you for, but
No,
it's gonna blow you away. Ready for this?
I am. I wait with anticipation.
Patient. Okay, name that movie. I'm gonna make her an offer he can't refuse.
It's either going to be The Godfather or The Freshman.
Well done. You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Jaws,
We're not in Kansas anymore.
The Wizard of Oz.
These are quotes that capture an entire film, and all I had to do was give you one line, and you know it. They speak to a genre, they speak to a moment, they speak to history, and they stand the test of time as you rewatch them. Name me a quote from Aquaman. Name me a quote from Guardians 2. Comic book movies are not necessarily known for their test of time one-liners. The ones that come to mind are I'm Batman, I'm Iron Man, I can do this all day. But what does that say about our comic book movies who are demanding that we see them as cinema and their ability to either craft a compelling script or to speak to a cultural moment that stands the test of time? Is it because of the oversaturation of the genre, or is it about the quality of the film? Go.
All right. Well, I think part of it is going to be the quality of the film because it's not like they're all you know they don't keep getting better necessarily.
Right.
There's like any genre. There's really good ones, there's really bad ones, in the middle ones, fan favorites, whatever. But I think to boil it down, the movies that you just quoted, so movies like The Godfather or Jaws or The Wizard of Oz, those have had time to stand the test of time. Now
Yes.
they were well received when they came out, but one of them was in the 30s and two of them were in the 70s. So, you know, they're decades and decades old and decades of, you know, generational rewatching and, you know, airing them every year, talking about what makes them great, talking about how they're great lines. Now, I think there are some, like you said, I think, look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, no, it's Superman. I'm Batman. I could do this all day. I think will stand some test of time. I am Iron Man. I think
Yep.
could lean towards that. But I think to say that whether or not they stand the test of time or are part of culture based on memorable lines, I think is a disservice only because
Hmm.
they're such a huge part of pop culture because of their popularity, because it brought, you know, like we've talked about before, it brought in people who were not versed in these worlds, who were not versed with these characters, and it brought new people in to experience superheroes for the first time and experience comic, you know, then wanting to go and, you know, read the comics or watch the cartoons or whatever and expand their own knowledge.
Yeah.
So I think that they're part of a pop culture moment because of their popularity. Now, will they stand the test of time the way that some of those classics do? I think that your kids and my kids, when they become adults, that will be a better indication of, are they showing it to their children? Are they still talking about it with us or with their friends or with whatever?
Right.
Um, you know, I first saw Jaws because it's my dad's favorite movie. Would I have would I have seen it eventually anyway? Yes, but part of its lasting power was that memory of it. You know what I mean? Same with the Wizard of Oz. That's my mom's favorite movie. I grew up seeing the Wizard of Oz, so I feel like to boil it down to like, do you remember things about those movies aside from those quotable lines? Yes, because people have discussed them for decades. You know, Iron Man is not even 20 years old. Captain America is not even 15. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you know the reason that, you know, think about what the ones you just said. I am Batman from Batman 89. That's almost 40 years old now.
Yeah.
You know, Superman, that was 78. You know, so these are movies that have had a chance to have staying power. And I think that you need to see how history remembers them more so than see what they're doing now. Because I think they're affecting pop culture now. But I think
Yeah.
we need to give history a chance to catch up before we can decide if they become classics or just become a niche thing that was real hot for a couple of years and then fizzled.
No, I agree. And, you know, you couldn't say Bueller in 86 and have it mean anything.
Right. It was like, oh, yeah, that new movie. Yeah, I'll get around to seeing that. You say it now when generations have seen it numerous times, it makes more sense.
I think the other part is that I do feel a lot of this stuff is poorly written, but poorly written from the standpoint that it is trying to set up its next 5 installments. Like Wizard of Oz wasn't worried about the sequel
Mm-hmm.
because there was no sequel. So it just took all of its energy and said, let's make this as good as we can. The next 3 movies are already contracted before we see the first one. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't have time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that actually affects the writing because you're worried about cinematic universes now. Now, again, Marvel did the impossible. I don't know how they've done it, quite frankly, for coming up on 20 years. You know, you could argue phases 4, 5, and 6 are not that great. But they were worried about, you know, 10 miles down the road. And I think that you start deteriorating quality when you're not focused on the main thing in front of you. And I think some of the brilliance of I am Iron Man and I can do this all day was a singular narrative. Yes, within a phase, and yes, within the Infinity Saga, but again, laser focused. Some of the other stuff is just like, well, let's make sure that it fits in. and it doesn't have to say anything, and it doesn't have to connect. And so you get watered down versions because, again, you're building to this big thing. Whereas if you were focused on the small thing, maybe the small thing would have a bigger impact instead of saying, we'll get to the main thing. You know, Godfather wasn't worried about Godfather 2 and 3 when you made the line, I'm going to make him an offer you can't refuse. So I feel like there's a pacing issue here when it comes to the quality.
The best point you made is about the, having to look into the future and seeing these shared universes, because they were not the first to do it. The Universal monster movies had a shared universe. Kevin Smith's movies, the Viewist universe, those were all a shared universe with, interweaving characters. But the difference is that those were not those individual movies that all fit in this larger universe, that all interact together, were not written with the other ones in mind until they got around to doing a sequel. So when Dracula came out, Dracula was on its own. When Frankenstein came out, Frankenstein was on its own. Then they realized, these are close enough in time that we can put them together and see what we come up with. It was the same when Kevin Smith wrote Clerks. He might have thought about what he could do with Clerks too, but at the time, he wasn't thinking, well, I still have, Chasing Amy, and that's going to marry these two characters, and then they're going to interact with the ones from Mallrats, because that's going to be where these characters talk about a history. It was a natural progression for those things to happen. So they were able to laser focus on, let's make one great movie, and, as they were able to make more, they realized that they could connect these stories. So I think that that's the problem with the quality.
Which I want to point out, one of the great podcasts you turned me on to is a little show called Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually what gave me the juice and the excitement to start Sanctum again, because they were doing it so well. But they took this idea of a cinematic universe of the Universal monster realm, and they decided that they were going to start to make these, MCU-like films of that universe. And they worked it together, but they were doing it with the long game of we put all of these together in an Avengers style where they all interact and meet. And it was really cool watching them build it, because it gave me insight to that's probably how Marvel does it, and that's probably how DC does it. And the amount of work that it takes to do that and to do it well is really hard. But I never really appreciated the gold mine that is the Universal Monster Universe. And they tried to reboot it back with Tom Cruise in 2017 with The Mummy. Mm-hmm. Did not work at all, and they just haven't touched it. And I really wish they would, because it's some of the best writing from character perspectives that you really could make. Now, all of that to say, you would have to make really good films so that you could put them together. You'd have to focus on each one individually before you then say, okay, Avengers level, here we go. And that's where Marvel did really well in Phase 1. Arguably, Phase 2 was better. I think Phase 3 just got us to the Infinity War. But by that point, you had enough character development. And I think that's where some of the one-liners come from. They come from really good, well-developed characters.
Mm-hmm. No, I 100% agree with that. I think it's people are going to remember the lines from, I think, the first two Iron Mans, Captain America, Thor, and the Avengers, because that was where it was like, wow, look at what they did. I don't think Phase 2 is going to be remembered as well in regards to these quotable lines. And I think that because movies like Infinity War and Endgame were such huge culminations, that's why some of those lines will be remembered, like on your left, or let's kill him properly this time, that kind of stuff. But I think it's the same problem with DC. I think there might be a line here or there when they worked really hard on making one really great movie like Wonder Woman, or even like Zack Snyder's Justice League. But I think by that point, they were not going to be regarded as classics.
Yeah, and that's really the interesting thing with this question is are you going for classic cinema that's going to be remembered for the long haul, or is it just popcorn summer flicks that need to pass $1 billion, and then you just make the next one. That's really the question underneath.
And there's nothing wrong with either one of those, but you can't make a popcorn movie and then be mad that it's not, etched in the history books.
I agree. But what do you think, audience? Do you think these movies have the test of time written into them? Or is it just bad script writing? Leave us a comment on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Make sure you are subscribed here so you stay up to date on every time we post a video, every time we post a reel, and every time we post a new podcast. Your contribution is what makes this show so fun.
It is. We love interacting on there and seeing all the comments, both constructive and otherwise.
And for you who are making those otherwise comments, I love them because 98% of the time, they're against Chris.
Oh, except that, well, yeah, a bunch of them are.
Yep.
We want to just take a quick minute and give a rest in peace to Terrance Stamp, who is known for having played General Zod in the original Superman and Superman 2, and was also in Star Wars The Phantom Menace. So, he's been in a bunch of geek movies, and he sadly passed away. So, condolences to his family. I hope he has well-earned rest after a nice legacy of cinema.
Indeed. We thank you for a very good legacy of consistent films that when he shows up, it goes, oh, I know that actor. I might not know his name. And then you look back and you're like, oh, this guy was in a lot of really good things.
And I know we say that a lot too, but he's one of those actors that can elevate even a schlocky thing he's in. You still can watch and be like, yeah, but he was still really enjoyable to watch in there.
I liked him in Yes Man. He plays the guru to Jim Carrey's bumbling guy, and he was really funny in there. But yeah, we're gonna miss him. I got a plot synopsis for this film.
That's exactly what it is, a filler.
Ah, clever. Cue foreboding music. Here we go.
All right, hit it.
The Fantastic Four are back, proving once again that the real superpower is bad writing. Reed and Sue just really want to get married. A lot. But apparently cosmic terror, military interference, and zit plot points get in the way. Enter the Silver Surfer, an iPod shuffle with abs, who's here to prep the Earth for Galactus, an all-powerful devourer of worlds who, in the cosmos, is terrifying, but in this movie is the love child of a vape pen, a fog machine, and the smoke monster from Lost. Meanwhile, Doctor Doom shows up because he accomplishes absolutely nothing except reminding us that Darth Vader did the whole mask with heavy breathing thing way better. In the end, the only thing that's devoured is a third installment, as Fox proves they're fantastic at one thing: box office disappointment in 2007's Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Dun, dun, dun!
That was funny. That was good.
I had fun with that one.
And Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer is the sequel, like we said, to 2005's Fantastic Four. So it stars all of those people and adds Lawrence Fishburne and Doug Jones and Andre Braugher. And, to fill out the cast a little bit. Now, I got to say, 3 great additions to a real mid to horrible movie.
A real piece of work. You got any good stuff in here?
I got, four things, because I was trying to be real generous.
Hit it, baby, hit it.
All right, of everything that they do in this movie, Silver Surfer looks pretty cool.
He does.
I think that this Silver Surfer arguably looks better than the current Silver Surfer.
I didn't see it. I saw it in the trailer. I get that we're doing the different gender. It's a different universe. But this, to me, is more the Surfer.
Yeah. And it was great. It was great casting using Doug Jones, who, if you don't know, is known mostly for doing his motion capture and makeup effects. A lot of the stuff he does
Guillermo
is
del
for
Toro?
Guillermo del Toro, and he did things like The Shape of Water, Pan's Labyrinth, the Hellboy movies, all that stuff. And as a little Easter eggy thing, if you've ever seen the movie from 1999, Mystery Men, That was one of
Yep.
Doug Jones' early appearances as Pencilhead, who was the father of son of Pencilhead when they have the superhero auditions. So it's good
Well,
little
what do you
thing there.
know?
They had a really great foundation here with just a really terrible execution. Like there were the bones of what they had here with introduced.
That's a backhanded good thing.
Yes. So it's a bad thing because it was a terrible execution. But to give the devil his due, you had the bones of what's good. You were trying to develop these characters a little bit. You introduced two major Fantastic Four characters. So I see that you were when you came up with the idea, you wanted to do something good. You wanted to do something cool.
Yes.
There was just you didn't pull it off.
I have a very similar, albeit a step to the left point to that. And it's just the attempt at a cosmic story. They had ambition in this movie to move beyond Earth. And you brought in the Surfer, you brought in Galactus to do that. And I thought that was really cool. Agreed, we didn't land this, but that was cool to try because we'd never done that before.
Yeah. So I think that there was some effort there.
Yep.
My minor thing when you see Doctor Doom messing with the board for the first time when they're in the military installation, it's a much better look for Doom than at the end of the first movie. Like he just looks more
Doomy.
like he should.
I have that too.
Kerry Washington is always great. Somebody I can watch and everything. And then the last two things I have, they introduced a character named Frankie Ray, who is the captain who's working with Andre Brower, the general. And she, in the comics later, becomes an ally of the Fantastic Four. She becomes a character called Nova. She's given the powers of the Human Torch by her stepfather, who was the creator of the original Android Human Torch back in the 40s. So it was a nice little, you made an effort to put a real character in there. My last thing is the Fantastic car looked pretty cool. I liked it.
Yeah.
Again, it was one of those things I like that they thought enough to be like, we could put this in here and then put it in
tried.
there. I thought that was cool. Yeah. That's it. And honestly, I was really scraping to get enough things to fill out a couple of minutes of good stuff.
That's everything I have too, except one additional thing. I like the creative use of the powers with the Surfer, particularly the weather stuff. I'm a big weather film guy. One of my favorite movies is 2004's Day After Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, those weather disaster
I love
movies
Twister.
Are great.
Weather disaster movies are fun to me. So the fact that it was why is it snowing on the pyramids? That's cool to me just because I like the concept. Weather that shouldn't be happening.
When he makes that giant crater in the middle of the Thames and all the water sinks down, that's cool.
When weather is doing what it shouldn't do, you have my attention.
Yeah, I can see that. That's cool.
Other than that, that was all I had too. You got everything. You got everything else. Do you have any other?
I have one other.
Because I don't.
Everybody kept complaining at the fact that all the characters in the movie kept complaining at the fact that Reed was too focused on his PDA. Boy, does that date this movie too.
Yup.
But when you see what happens at their wedding, the helicopter goes down, the roof is, the floor caves out, and all these people are trying to escape. All these things are happening. It's a good thing he had that and was able to be aware, because if they were just standing there and they were like, do you take the bride? Do you take the groom? Do you do this thing? And then that stuff happened out of nowhere. A lot more people would have been, So, I think that, they needed to back off Reed a little bit and be like, listen, he is a superhero and a super genius. So cut him a little slack for wanting to make sure. And there's this crazy weather phenomenon happen with this thing from outer space. Nobody knows what's going on. So I feel like wedding important, possible world-ending situation more important, I feel like, especially when you're one of the people that can solve it. Yeah.
I like that.
All right. Well, I guess with all that being said, we can take a quick break for a word from our sponsor this episode, and let you kind of absorb all of that good information before we really, really tear this thing apart.
We'll be back. Are you running out of space for your files, photos, or mixtapes? Well, worry no more, because the future of storage is here. Galactus Cloud Storage. You'll never run out of space. Why? Because the cloud literally eats entire worlds. That's right, unlimited storage powered by cosmic hunger. Upload your documents, back up your VHS collection, and rest easy knowing your cosmic storage is powered by the unstoppable hunger of a galactic being. Your photos, safe. Your music library, secure. Your planet, maybe not so much. Don't settle for a tiny terabyte when you can have terrifying bytes. Galactus Cloud Storage. Your data is forever. Your planet is optional.
That was good. I'm going to give that a solid Ledger minus.
Take it.
That was good.
I take it with pride.
That was fun. All right. Are you ready to rip into this?
Which reminds me, I have to back up a lot of these files. I'm ready to rip. Are you ready to rip? I got some bad things in this movie.
I have many, 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 many bad things.
I'll go first.
Go.
Actually, I don't have a ton, but I've got enough.
I got plenty.
The comedy ages very worse. Very, very worse. Evans carries this movie's humor. Sue carries the heart, but it's not funny. It like where I could give a pass to the original for some of the humor, this one's like, no, like you did not write this well. It's not funny. It doesn't land well. I'm not even internally LOLing. It's just not funny.
It's cringy and weak writing, and honestly, there were too many jokes.
Yeah, a lot, and just consistent, like an onslaught. I would have thought Joss Whedon wrote it.
Yeah. It was too much. If they had cut that in half, it might have been more manageable, but it was too many, and I didn't need it from all of the characters.
Yeah.
Either. Like, not everybody needs to be comic relief.
Along those lines, I felt like the dialogue was forgettable. I felt like the character arc was shallow. There wasn't really much, because it was about the surfer, but it wasn't about the surfer. So it didn't really pick a lane as to what it was doing. Are you developing this new character by giving him backstory and really, pulling on the heartstrings and all of that? Or do you want to push the characters that we introduced this series in a little bit further? It tried to do both, and neither really landed. So it was just forgettable.
And especially with the whole thing about, like, Sue and Reed want to give up being superheroes, and what is that going to leave for Johnny and Ben? And, then at the end of that movie, it's like, all right, I guess this was our last hurrah. No, what do you mean? No, it's like you're kind of gaslighting them into like, no, we do this as a family. What are you talking about? I was never going to leave. It's like, okay, this is... And then they fight about it when they're in the helicopter on the way to the big battle. It's like, this feels like not the time.
What bothered me about that in particular is like, look, if you're going to pull a Superman 2, if you're going to do Spider-Man 2, do it. Don't nod to it. Do it, because that is a great story. The hero that doesn't want a hero. You threw that in as a line to build a little bit of tension, and then the tension wasn't warranted because you weren't actually doing that. The thing you wanted out of this entire movie was to get married, not be a superhero. Those two things are mutually exclusive. They're not connected.
No. Yeah, those just added to the overall weak and poor writing.
And also the whole wedding thing, like, just go to the courthouse. Like, the marriage plot point is weak, and I'm sorry, but if there's no planet, there's no wedding. So one of these things is a little bit more important.
Right. Like, well, again, this becomes like what were you trying to be as a movie? Are you trying to be like a romantic comedy of, like, a comedy of errors of, like, here's all the things that go wrong before the big wedding day? Or is this we're a team of superheroes and we need to save the world from this world-ending creature that is arriving? Pick a lane.
That's it.
I'm not saying you can't have nods to one or the other, but like I didn't know what I was supposed to be watching here.
Right. And if I don't know what I'm watching, I don't know what to feel. And if I don't know what to feel, I'm not going to connect to it.
The plot would be exactly the same if instead of Galactus and the Silver Surfer, it was Sue Storm's famous ex that came back into the picture and she realized she still had feelings, or Reed still had feelings, or whatever.
Yep.
The wedding plot would have been exactly the same, and that would have been a romantic comedy.
The villain motivation is weak because Doom is just there.
Yeah.
He's not there for a reason. He gets hot. Why did they hire him? Why does the military hire him?
I have that exact sentence. Why did the military bring him in? He tried to destroy the planet already.
And then it's like, oh no, we need this guy? No. He's here because Galactus isn't written enough.
You already have a super smart guy, and this other super smart guy didn't actually help anything. He didn't build the thing, he didn't create the thing, so he didn't actually do any work because he was building his own crap.
There was a point in this movie where I said, kill them all, Silver Surfer, kill them all.
Yeah, you almost want Galactus to devour the planet at the end of it.
Yeah, well, the moment that I said it was when the zit thing happened.
Yeah, now I just have to focus on that one spot continuously for the next 8 hours.
Okay, so when you hold back the helicopter, did that break your concentration?
No, she was still focused because they were taking pictures. She needed to look, good for photos of saving the world.
Also, what's behind a pimple? What's behind a zit? Is it regular skin?
Yeah.
Like, let's dive into this for a second. Let's talk about this. When you get a zit, actually, no, I don't want to talk about this. It's just a stupid plot.
I don't want to talk about it, but honestly, if she had made the zit invisible, it really should have just invisibled like a hole into her head.
That's what I'm saying.
So you would have either been able to see through it or see what was under all the layers of pimple. So like however deep down it goes.
They got this new thing called cover up. I use it. I'm a human being. I have blemishes. Anyway, the power swapping is dumb.
Oh my god, so bad.
It makes no sense unless we want it to.
It doesn't mean no. I wanted it to.
It was sort of funny to put Chris Evans in a suit.
In the Thing suit?
Yeah.
No, it was an excuse to get Jessica Alba naked. It was an excuse to have Michael Chiklis get to see his regular actor face. It was an excuse for Johnny to, fall and be, mushy and stretchy, or look like, be covered in rocks because he's so vain. It was the dumbest thing. It was the dumbest thing.
Yeah.
Also, it was did you notice how inconsistent it was? So why when Johnny comes into contact with the power cosmic, does it make their superhero powers just switch? But when Doom gets hit with the power cosmic, he
gets healed.
Heals him. So if it would have been more fine if the power cosmic either took everybody's powers away or made them uncontrollable, like you had no more control over them, that would have all been more fine. I guess it would have been a little more like, oh, okay, so that's what happens. Fine, I can get on board with that. But it made no sense.
But then at the end, it's like we just collect them all, and Johnny can hold them all together like a Pokeball. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
And how did you know that was going to work? And also, how did you figure out how to, like, I don't know, flex the muscle that makes you invisible, and then flex the other muscle that makes you stretch, and flex the one that lets you turn into the rock? Also, why wasn't he covered in rock and still able to stretch and be on fire and invisible? It just, the whole thing didn't make sense.
This is Secret Invasion, 15 years before.
And because when he initially switches powers with Sue, and he does like, okay, flame on, he just turns invisible. So whatever muscle he was flexing to do the fire power, he did the invisible power. Okay.
Yeah.
So then when he has all of them, which also doesn't make sense, it's just the whole thing. This
movie is saying we hate you to its fans.
What did he say?
It's like, you're stupid. You'll watch anything.
The country changes every 5 seconds. We're in New York, Japan, Germany, and London in the span of about 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's too much. All right. I'm going to save my big one to the end. Galactus being defeated by the Surfer is nonsense because Sue reminds him of his wife. You mean to tell me that that's the first time that ever happened?
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Countless, and especially since he's just spent time being like, countless worlds we've devoured and destroyed and whatever. You never met anybody on any other one?
Yeah. The other thing, and I want to go back to the power absorption for just a second. I was really thinking about it, and maybe I'm thinking about it too deep, and you can tell me if I should relax. But what that scene in particular infuriates in me is that it wastes the fact that this is a movie about a family, that these are unique individuals with powers. And what you did at the end was you made a superhero cocktail, but it's the characters with these powers that we like. We like them individually, and when you put them together, that's the power of unique but different, separate but powerful, and you put them all together. What you did was you stripped the thing away that we liked about these characters, threw them together and said, you like this, right? But you missed the characters underneath them. And so it was actually a visual display of them saying character doesn't matter.
Well, that's been the problem with every Fantastic Four movie. I mean, I feel like even including the new one to a degree is that they don't know how to do the family aspect right. I think, comic book movies know how to do found family.
Yes.
Group of misfits come together, but it's like they don't know how to do established, actually related, married, blood relative, whatever, as a family, instead of just here's a group of misfits that got thrown together and they learn to love each other.
Yeah.
They don't know how to do it right, and it's unfortunate.
Now, here's my last bad thing. Are you ready for this?
This is your big one?
Mm-hmm.
All right, hit me.
Here's the thing about clouds.
Oh, boy.
They're scary.
Are they?
Try to explain clouds to someone who has never seen a cloud before. There's these puffballs that are floating up in the sky. And sometimes they look like cotton, and other times they look like dinosaurs, and sometimes they change colors, and sometimes they let water out of them, and other times they shoot electricity out, and that electricity sets things on fire, and sometimes they make huge booming noises, and other times those clouds swirl together, and it touches the ground, and it destroys everything, and it picks up cows. I think I have accurately just described with science that clouds are scary. Have I not?
That was very sciencey. I feel like I was just in a college level class just now. It was something.
All of that to say, Christopher, Galactus is not a cloud.
Yeah. No, it's Galactus.
He's not a cloud.
So bad.
And they knew it, and somebody suggested that he just be a cloud, and nobody said no, he's a world-eating tyrant? No one said that?
It's because at this time, now I'm not defending it, but at this time they were afraid to just,
don't you dare.
Again, they wanted to base so much of it in like some semblance of reality despite the other fantastical elements. So to have just a giant from space in a big purple forky helmet who just like touches the ground and absorbs all of the organic life force on the planet seemed ridiculous. So we made a giant cloud that has tendrils and somehow communicates but doesn't have like a face or mouth or something. And it was bad. It was so bad. So bad.
Burr.
Unfortunate.
What do you got?
Well, you hit. I have everything that you hit, so I have some other more specifics and nitpicky stuff.
I was gonna say nitpicky stuff because that's what you do.
They live in a world. These, the people of this version of Earth live in a world where the Fantastic Four is real, Doctor Doom is real, presumably other super natural things are real. So why is it so difficult to immediately jump to alien? Why are they like weird weather patterns? I suppose there could be like some cosmic reason or some science-y reason. So why can't it be like, I wonder if an alien is attacking? I'm talking to a guy that can super stretch and another guy who's made of rock. but that's out of the realm of possibility. That's a completely foreign concept. 2 years ago, they fought a guy who was made of
Clearly.
metal and shot electricity through his hands. But this is out of the realm of possibility. Speaking of Doom, how did he come back? Why did he come back? What? Why? Just why?
Because the plot needs him to.
They took one of the most powerful, enigmatic, interesting characters in all of Marvel villain, in all of out of all the Marvel villains, and you reduced him to not even your main villain and not a bad guy turned good. He was just existing. No. Nope, not taking it, not buying it.
Because the plot needs him
Yeah,
to.
yeah. When the general first confronts Reed, now I know he ended up building the thing anyway, but again, like we talked about before, I'm sorry, I can't build the sensor that could potentially tell us what is causing these world-ending effects and maybe save the world. I'm getting married. Your reaction wouldn't be, honey, if there's no planet, there's no wedding. So why don't I save the planet and then we can get married?
Yep.
Speaking of the wedding, Stan Lee's cameo, stupid. Here's why it's stupid. He was already in the first one as an established character. Willie the Mailman is from the comics. He's the mailman of the Baxter Building. So now you had him there instead as himself?
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense. Nope. And I never thought I would say a bad word about Stan Lee and his cameos in comic book movies, but that was not a good one.
I was going to say, you're treading on dangerous ground, but you make a good point.
Why are there tabloids for superheroes? That's stupid. I don't like it. I know that we said the comedy was too much, but especially Doctor Doom. Like again, you took a character that has such rich language and rich history, and you boiled them down to a one-liner, comedy villain. It was so bad. Did they ever? Did
Yep.
they ever? Maybe I just missed this. Did they ever fill in any of the craters, or did Galactus or the Surfer reverse them when they left the planet?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so here's why that's an issue. The ones that were just in the ground in the middle of nowhere, all right, giant holes, whatever, I guess. But there was one that drained the entire Thames River. That feels like it will have serious ecological effect on many, many things. So we're just pretending like it didn't happen. We're just ignoring it.
That'll affect something.
Doesn't make any sense. The powers, we talked about the power switching is really inconsistent. Silver Surfer's powers are really inconsistent. They don't really make any sense. The cast is still just as bad, even with the addition of 3 great performers who do a fine job with what they're given. The casting is just not good. To go along with I can't save the world because I'm getting married, the general again, this is one of those things where like everybody is really petty in this movie. The world is ending, but Johnny is whining about Sue and Reed wanting to retire. The general is saying, oh, well, you're a big nerd and I'm a big football player, so I am the boss. No, I'm the boss because I'm marrying the hottest woman on the planet and I'm a genius at whatever. Like, okay, why is everybody being so bloody petty when the world is ending? We can't all like kumbaya it for 5 minutes to figure this out and stop it.
You did that really well.
That was bad. I think that's everything I have because you covered a lot of what I had. I have the word plane written down, and I don't remember why I wrote that down. Was there a scene with a plane?
Couldn't tell you. I don't think so. If there was, not worth talking about because it probably sucks.
When they're flying somewhere and like Ben has to like sit in between uh 2 people and Reed like stretches to put his suitcase where it doesn't belong in somebody else's overhead compartment.
Oh, yeah.
When they're like, we don't have any seats left in first class. It's like these are people are going crazy over the 2 of them getting married, and they either can't afford or can't be accommodated, especially since they saved the world numerous times, which they mention. It's like, remember when we saved that thing in this place? Like, they're not getting like a private flight or at least some better accommodations when one guy is a giant made out of rock.
You're also like the superheroes of the world. You've got all this research and funding and blah, blah, blah. You don't have a jet?
You can't just build yourself one.
Just
Like,
write that in.
How long did it take him to build the magic sensor and to build the Fantastic Car? Why didn't you reveal the Fantastic Car? Just fly that to wherever you were going. Why did you wait until the end of the movie to reveal that? And what a waste for Kerry Washington, who plays such an interesting character. Her father is a character called the Puppet Master, probably one of the best villains in the Fantastic Four, stories and universe. And she does a great job with what she's given, but they never have and now never will have a chance to develop that into something really cool, which it could have been, and that's a shame. Okay, I'm done. Can you tell that I wasn't a huge fan of this?
We were not, but are you a fan of the Lord? Do you have spiritual content? Would you like to share it with us now?
I do have.
Call me now at 1-800-Tarot Reading. What was her name?
Miss Cleo.
That's it.
I'm assuming that's who you're talking about from the late night infomercials, Miss Cleo.
Yeah, but we're not talking about her right now. We're talking about Jesus.
Jesus.
Hit it. What do you got?
So I struggled, but where I kind of landed was on the Silver Surfer. So the Silver Surfer was kind of conscripted into serving Galactus. He was forced in favor of, Galactus sparing his planet and the one he loves. But he has this interesting conversation with Sue of, why are you destroying our planet? I don't have a choice. We all have a choice, and what you choose, kind of defines who you are. For me, that kind of brought up this idea of free will that we have. God is an all-powerful being. He is, omnipotent and omniscient and everything. And it would be very easy for an all-powerful being to force us to behave how he wants and love how he wants and do what he wants, but nobody wants to be chosen or loved by a robot. There's no joy in that. There's no feeling in that. So God gave us free will so that we could choose to do what's right or not. We all have a choice to either choose God, choose love, or to choose ourselves and our own self-interest. Now, I'm not saying that we need to put aside everything we ever want or anything we want to do. But when we're faced with a situation, there's always a choice. There's never a situation where we have to say there's no option. There might be a more difficult option that we don't want to deal with. There might be an easier option that is preferable, obviously, but there's always a choice. And it, becomes up to us to choose how we want to live our life, to choose how we want to represent ourselves, and to choose how we're going to show Jesus to the world. And so that for me, like, the Silver Surfer kind of embodies that whole idea of like, I don't want to do this, but I feel like I have no option. When presented with the idea that, like, you do have an option, and here's why you have an option, he chooses to do the right thing. He chooses to sacrifice himself and save the planet. But, I think that the choice becomes up to us, and there always is one. It just, boils down to how do we want to choose to live.
That's awesome. Mine is connected a little bit. One of the saddest parts, as we've talked about, of this film is how they handled Galactus. In the comics, he is an awe-inspiring cosmic being. He is a force that makes you feel small and yet carries a sense of transcendence. You catch that very clearly in the comics, and you feel it more with the new Fantastic Four. Still not great, but in this film, I feel like he was reduced to a cloud, which is something bland and something powerless and something that you sort of shrugged at, and in fact, we did. I think we face the same danger spiritually when we take the God of the universe, this holy, majestic, all-powerful being, and reduce him to something that's comfortable and explainable, or just this nice idea, something you shrug at. And we flatten this transcendence into something that's safe and unimpressive. And then God becomes bland to us. He becomes bland in our eyes. And that actually has a ripple effect, because now our worship becomes weak because we don't understand who we're worshiping, and our faith becomes small, and our hope loses its anchor. And one of the verses that jumped out for me is Romans 1, and it's verses 21 through 23. It says, "For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God, nor gave thanks to him, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like a mortal human being, and birds and animals and reptiles." In other words, humanity has this tendency to shrink down the infinite to the finite. And what we do when we do that is we trade transcendence for something tame, something that we can control, something that we are not as impressed by because now we are the God over it. But God is not, pardon the pun, but God's not a safe cloud. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe has that line. Safe? Who said anything about safe?
He is good, but he's not safe.
Exactly. He is the living, risen Christ. He's not something that we can just quantify. He is powerful. He's also present, and he's worthy of our worship. And I think this idea of cloudifying this omnipotent being just really spoke to me like, no, I do that with God all the time. And I really need to...
We limit God because we only have an understanding of limitation.
Yeah. And so I thought the invitation out of this film was like, let's embrace God for who he is. This being who can shake mountains and calm seas and yet draws near to us in love through Jesus.
Yeah. That's really good. That's, as soon as you said, Galactus is this big cosmic being, I thought like, I can kind of see where he's going with that. That's really, really good. That was really good.
You want to rate this?
But as good as these spiritual points may have been, and as fun as this conversation may have been, I'm ready to rate the holy heat and haw out of this movie.
You first. I mean, I know what it is, but...
Yeah, I mean, normally this is where I will kind of give caveats to what my thing is, but not this time. This is a Clooney all day. It's bad. It's not good. I don't want to watch it again. The Silver Surfer was cool, but it wasn't enough to redeem it. So Clooney, all Clooney. If we had a worse Batman than Clooney, it would be that.
And guess what I gave it?
You know what? Let me change my rating. This
Sure.
isn't Clooney. This isn't a Clooney. This is a guy who dresses up as Batman but hates it for Halloween so that his kid can be Robin, but is miserable about it. That's what it is.
I wouldn't go that far.
I don't know if you have a picture for that, but
I'm sure AI can generate something like that. In fact, you can see it right here. I did not rate it that low. I gave it a Kilmer.
Forgettable. Okay.
It is aimed at a younger crowd or cloud, whatever it is. The audience matured, but the content didn't. They took some big swings, and a little bit of it, it's not enough to warrant another rental from Blockbuster for me. It's not terrible. It's not good. It's just meh. So it's a Kilmer.
Will you ever watch it again?
Yeah.
Oh, I will have to be forced to watch this again.
You know what? We don't have to force. A comment from our audience. Drop us a line what you thought about Fantastic Four: The Rise of the Silver Surfer on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube right here. You can follow us on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And as always, Chris, take us out of here.
Well, remember, kids, all you know is at an end. Except when you watch this movie, because it feels like the end would never come.
It's an eternity.
Oh man, it felt like an eternity. It was one of the shortest live action superhero movies we could have watched, and it felt like hours of my life were disappearing.
90 minutes of meh.
I was watching it, my wife and my son were both napping, and so I put it on. And when my wife got up and she came and said, oh, did you get a chance to watch some of your movie? It's like, no, I watched all of it. So it was that short? I'm like, yeah, but it felt like hours. It felt like everybody was asleep for 3 hours.
It is a portal, and time does not obey normal constraints in this film.
No, it's the power cosmic affecting your brain while you're watching it.